Hey, what's up, everybody? The V Club here, Villain Club, coming at you with another video. Talk about anything and everything, alright? And so I still wanted to continue to talk about the aftermath of the Trump re-election and the failure of Kamala and the machine, right? And so I wanted to start with the concession speech here. I want to use Sky News for this one as
But let's start with the US election, because just like Hillary Clinton back in 2016, Kamala Harris refused to address supporters after her election loss. She waited until...
Yeah, so before he speaks, if you know you're losing or you're going to lose, right, usually it would be the night of, but she waited till like a day, the next day, and instead of even in the morning, she waited till like late afternoon to address the loss. All right, so let's take a look at this.
Until today to show her face and make a concession speech, or at least I think it was a concession speech. She spoke for 12 minutes and she used the word fight 19 times. Have a look.
Give up, keep fighting. Fight. We owe loyalty not to a president. I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. Fight. 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 I will never give up. I will never give up. The fight. We will never give up.
Look at all the
fight. We will never
crying.
give up. The fight, and we will continue to wage this fight in the public square. To fight. To fight. When we fight, we win.
After insisting for months that, she was the champion of democracy, repeatedly urging your supporters to fight is a strange way to acknowledge the will of the majority. She finally came to her crescendo, which, much like her campaign, fell flat.
Only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars.
What the hell
I'm
did she...
honestly not sure what I'm more excited.
Yeah, like what the hell she was just talking about there. And that's how, par for the course of what she's been doing the whole time throughout the campaigning is like, what the hell is she talking about? All right. So that's the reason why she lost, because, she reminds me of this chick over here. All right, this right here.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map.
Reminds me of this
Why
chick.
do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
Reminds me of this chick. Every time Kamala speaks about her nonsense. But so,
Excited about the fact that
it
Trump
is definitely
or
bizarre.
The fact that we'll never need to hear Kamala Harris make speeches like that ever again.
I'm just feeling so unburdened by what has been right now.
That was a real unburdened by what has been moment.
It was, and of course now the media is dominated, drizzling down into the fine minutiae of which
too bad she didn't say that.
Where and how did this happen. Has anyone offered up the simple reasoning for Trump's win being that he's the most dynamic personality in modern history that we've ever seen enter the arena of politics, and he was up against a moron? maybe we're overthinking this. Like, maybe we're literally overthinking this. I've seen a lot of media be like, well, it was a woman and they're just...
This is a woman speaking about another woman, calling her a moron. You know what I'm saying?
Not prepared for the first woman president of the United States of America. Trump stopped us twice now from having our first female president. Maybe even women didn't want the first president to be an idiot. That's no Margaret Thatcher. You don't have my vote, they said, in massive numbers. And she didn't get up. It's been so amusing watching the post-mortem that, of course, will go for days to come, but started today, the minute we got up. But with regards to a peaceful transfer of power, I'm looking forward to being very impressed because the Democrats have now spent 4 years telling us that they know how to lose an election gracefully, concede defeat, and hand over the keys to the White House. So I'm looking forward to a textbook perfect transfer of power.
But what's with the fight rhetoric, though, right?
But people forget what happened when Hillary conceded on losing to Trump and what transpired during that time. You guys don't recall what happened during that time. A lot of protesting, a lot of stuff going on. It wasn't a peaceful transition. All right, there's a lot of stuff that went on during that time. I don't even know if there's any footage of that. Let's see, the protesting of all that stuff during that time. Let's see, 2016. Let's see, 2016, Hillary. I'm trying to think of riots across America. I mean, there was riots all over America during that time. I don't know if there's if I could find videos of that, but believe it or not, people forgot, and this was only 8 years ago. All right, that happened. There was actually, believe it or not, chaos in the streets and all that stuff when she lost. And we weren't ready for another Clinton. All right, calling everybody basket of deplorables to everybody. We weren't ready now, or we're not ready now for an idiot president. So another one, which I agree with this chick here. We're not ready for that one either. And so, it's just what it is we just had enough of the bullshit. Progressive bullshit is what it is. And everybody can see that she wasn't up to the task and that it would have just continued to just be bad. And that's the whole point of this. Yeah, even the concession speech is not really like a real concession, right? Let's take a look at Fox News here. See what they thought about it.
After going radio silent, Kamala Harris conceding the race to President-elect Trump.
A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win. Don't you ever listen when anyone tells you something is impossible because it has never been done before.
Harris said the only one shouldering the brunt of the blame. Folks are pointing the finger at President Biden, which is dangerous, for his Veeps bruising a loss.
Has the conversation begun yet about Joe Biden and about the decision to ask him to step aside?
It will begin. That will certainly be part of the discussion.
Democrats orchestrated a very public stab fest, a proverbial stabbing in the front.
The blame game is happening.
Of the United States of America, and then didn't use him in his hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Biden should have dropped out a year ago or 2 years ago.
The timing, I think, of President Biden's decision to step down after the debate, something that if she does in fact lose, will be under a microscope.
One senior official I just talked to said Biden will hold a lot of blame for it, and frankly, they said he should.
And Barack Obama putting out a statement. He said, quote, I love Greg Gutfeld. Oh, I'm sorry. Progress requires us to extend good faith and grace, even to people whom we deeply disagree. Well, that's some edgy stuff, Jesse.
Yeah.
So what did you make of her coming out today, not last night? Do you think she put any effort into it? It seemed like kind of the greatest hits.
I noticed her tone was off. She was smiling. I just didn't land for me. It's fine that she waited till today to do the big speech in front of everybody. That's fine. But she should have called Trump last night. I don't know why she waited, what she was waiting for, but that's fine. Kamala, my sources are saying, is definitely running again.
Who are your sources?
Jesse.
Kamala will run in 4 years. Mark my words. I've never been wrong. My sources also say that Obama is annoyed at Hillary for boxing him in and endorsing Kamala so quickly because it made him have to endorse her, and now his legacy doesn't look as good. I'm also hearing leaks that she lost because her people say that she has no political identity, and she never responded to any of these attacks, especially the one about the transgender surgeries and all that. Blaming Biden for not getting out earlier doesn't make any sense because he did better than she did against Donald Trump. And if they'd wanted to get Joe out earlier, they could have primaried him a year and a half ago. He didn't also get out because he wanted to. They forced him out with a gun to his head. So if any of the timing is there, it's because of them. They're blaming Biden for the timing. It's his policies. They lost because of the fundamentals of this race. And we talked about the things they screwed up, but they screwed up things on purpose. They actually broke the border on purpose. It wasn't incompetent. They actually spent and printed trillions of dollars on purpose. It wasn't like, oh, they forgot to carry the one. All of this was designed to do that, so they can't say, you know, it was a mistake, it was incompetence. No, that's why it's hard to forgive, but I will because I'm a bigger person. Newsom is very happy today. Shapiro is very happy today. Hunter Biden gets sentenced, I believe, next week. He's going to have to get pardoned in less than a week. I don't know how that's going to go. And then Biden's going to have to invite Trump to the White House to sit next to each other. So what is that going to look like? You're just going to sit next to this fascist who's saying, you know, he's going to be a dictator, and by the way, let's have coffee? That doesn't make any sense at all. I am looking for,
all very good
besides
points,
getting the border and inflation straightened out, we're actually going to get to the bottom of Butler. We're going to get all of the files on that. We're going to get the files on the Epstein flight logs. We're going to get files on JFK. Hopefully, we may even get files on Diddy. So I love transparency across the board. Those aren't priorities, but those are things the American people deserve to see.
Interesting.
Was it?
Not really. But anyway, Jessica.
Fine, I'm not giving you the Epstein files then, Greg. You're not interested? Fine.
My insiders have been talking about another conspiracy, the fact that because Obama and Josh Shapiro were so close, that he had told Shapiro, do not take the VP job because this dog ain't gonna hunt. A phrase I just coined.
Where did you hear that, Greg?
I don't know. It was you know, the tea leaves.
It could have been a strategic move not to ask Shapiro.
There is definitely a bit of the VP blame game going on. I mean, these margins, 0.5% swing towards Trump in Wisconsin, 18,000 votes, 38,000 votes in Michigan, 78,000 votes in Pennsylvania. Would Josh Shapiro have at least appeared as a moderating force? We know that she didn't do as well with Jewish voters as past Democratic candidates. But I do think, I agree with Jesse that this was about the fundamentals of the race. And I don't know if you've seen that New York Times chart with the arrows, the red arrows. They are everywhere, and they are all going in that direction. I mean, he outperformed 2020 every single place on the map. And I don't think that having a different VP on the ticket a year ago, and maybe Kamala Harris would have been victorious in it. I don't know, but maybe you would have had Gretchen Whitmer or Wes Moore or Josh Shapiro at the top of the ticket, and that could have been different. But this was a fundamentals election, and like I said, a lot of people telling the Democratic Party, we don't like what you're selling.
Judge, what do you see next for Kamala? Jesse foolishly says she's going to run again, but we don't take him seriously. I see her as a regular on a new Housewives.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because I don't see her in government again.
No, I see her having a nice Chablis.
Well, supposedly, governor of California when Gavin Newsom's term is up.
Okay, let me tell you what my thoughts are. As everybody blames everyone else, first of all, when Joe Biden first ran, he ran as a transition president. We all got the sense that at some point during the first 4 years, he was going to move out and let Kamala move in. And if that's what he told us anyway, if you can believe him. So Kamala, during that time, should have been the understudy to the president. She should have been in all the meetings. She had access to all the best experts, to all the files, to all the documents.
She did, but she never
should have been
utilized
on her game, ready to take it to the top. But you know what? She was lazy.
Yeah.
She was lazy, she was angry, she was toxic. 94% of her staff quit. They said she belittled them, and she was lazy. She didn't study enough. So let's get right to the bottom of it. It's her fault that she didn't win. It's her fault that she hid Biden or allowed him to hide for all that time, because maybe she could have come out earlier and not just had 100 days to campaign. And for those people who say she had 100 days to campaign and that's too little, that's baloney too, because she ran for DA, she ran for Attorney General, she ran for United States Senator, and then she was a VP, and then she ran. I mean, how much of your life do you have to run for office before people say she should have experience running for office? She was the one who took radical stances, never explained it, didn't come out. She should have set herself up as a model for young women, and shame on her for not doing it.
Dana,
all
you
valid
are a
points.
model for young women, and all women, I might add.
Especially the short ones.
Yes, the short women need a mentor.
Yeah, we really, really do.
Yes. Do you have anything you want to add to this that you haven't said already elsewhere in other venues?
I think that the hyperbole of the campaign that Oprah Winfrey used and Harris used as well, like the country's going to fall apart and you're never going to get a chance to vote again. That was your last chance to vote, America. Hope you enjoyed it, because now Trump is going to be there and he's Hitler. I mean, it's been
he's
weird.
Hitler. He's a dictator.
Yeah.
And
he's going to wipe out the Constitution.
Yeah. I'd really like to congratulate you. See you in a couple of months at the inauguration. Hillary Clinton at least called Donald Trump in 2016 to concede. She did not do that last night, and that's the story will come out. There's something I'm not very crazy. But something happened. But something happened. I'm wondering what your sources are telling you, because Jen O'Malley Dillon, the campaign chair, she put out this statement 90 minutes before saying everybody can go home and go to bed. I guess that included the candidate. Because then everybody had called the race. It was called. There was no way she was ever going to be named president, and she doesn't come back. And she doesn't even call him and say, I called and conceded, I'm going to give you a speech tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I find that weird, and I think that it's rude. Also, I would say two last things. People run for office because they want to solve problems. And the presidency is a decision-making experience. She did not solve any problems, and she couldn't make any decisions, and she lost.
Straight up.
Well done.
Click here.
Straight up. That's what happened there. Yeah, all this fear-mongering, insulting, all that stuff is why she lost. But yeah, I mean, she somewhat conceded. She somewhat conceded the election. And, I'm just glad that America has spoken, and really showed, right? And that's through everything, through the House, through the Senate, through the presidency. It's going to be a red-run government going back to being what America is, right? And it's not going to be corrected overnight, but at least we're finally going to shift in a direction of something positive for a change, because everything's just been so bad. And you could tell that the Democratic machine is not really for you. They're not really for the people. They pushed out the working class. Bernie Sanders even said it out there, that, you know, when it comes to this whole blame game stuff. And he even said that, you know, the working class got pushed out by the Democratic Party. So that's telling right there. Let's take a look at a couple of these other, you could say, clips of now, you know, the blame game, the finger pointing. All right, so let's take a look at this right here.
And we start here. President Biden is going to address the nation this morning after speaking with President-elect Donald Trump yesterday on the phone.
Biden offering Trump a meeting at the White House to ensure a smooth transition as Vice President Harris concedes the election, but not the fight.
Peter Ducey is live at the White House. Hey, Peter, what is the president saying?
Good morning. Some Democrats are sad about Harris losing. Some Democrats are mad about Harris losing, and they're blaming Joe Biden. So even though he got himself out of the way months before anybody ever voted, a Harris campaign aide is quoted in Politico as saying, "We ran the best campaign we could considering Joe Biden was president," grumbled one Harris aide granted anonymity to speak freely. Joe Biden is the singular reason Kamala Harris and Democrats lost. Biden was told privately this summer that he had a 0% chance of beating Trump, but after that, Harris got a huge bounce when she joined the ticket, picked Tim Walz, and had a glitzy convention. And now campaign staff are getting an email from their boss, Jen O'Malley Dillon, that says, "I know the vice president isn't finished in this fight, and I know the very people on this email are also going to be leaders in this collective mission. View this as the beginning, not the end." That was the gist of the VP's remarks at Howard University yesterday that seemed somewhat
that sounds
hastily
completely
organized.
opposite of what they were saying, that, oh, Joe Biden's the only one that could beat Trump because he's beaten him before, and that they propped him up without any really doing any sort of primary or anything. So I think the machine put him up to it. I don't know where that came from. That was kind of weird.
The invite was texted to supporters just hours ahead of time, and NBC News is reporting the Harris team did not spend much time writing a concession. They thought her initial remarks were just going to be about keeping the faith during a days-long vote count.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. That is a fight I will never give up.
And we don't know how exactly the vice president plans to keep up that fight as a private citizen come January. Back to you.
Hey, Peter, you mentioned that Donald Trump was invited by Joe Biden to go to the White House before the inauguration just to work things out. Did you see the lead of Drudge right now is the conservative publication National Review said they gave some advice to Joe Biden. Joe Biden should pardon Donald Trump of all the pending charges, relieves the special counsel Jack Smith of his duties, and then ask the New York governor to pardon Trump from crimes he was convicted in New York State. Is there any chance Joe Biden could actually pardon Donald Trump?
Well, if you listen, if you believe what the president has told us over the last few months, that would introduce the possibility that he could pardon Donald Trump and then not pardon his son and let Hunter go off and rot in jail. And so it's possible, but we have no indication that that's going to happen. I asked Biden about that a couple months ago, and he just kind of laughed about it and said, "That's a good question."
But you know, Peter, he could pardon Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump could pardon his son in January.
Yeah. Or, yes, it is possible.
It would be a pardon palooza, Peter.
It would be interesting.
Yes.
Hey, Peter, I have a prediction. You're going to get a sit down with President Biden before he leaves.
Oh, that would be great.
In the White House. That's my prediction. Would you accept his invitation?
Yes, I would accept an invitation to have a one-on-one interview with the president.
I'm going to call him right after the show.
And it sounds like I could just get like a preemptive pardon because everybody else seems to need one that talks to the president. Yeah. Just in case.
Just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, pardon me. It's from jaywalking or whatever. But Steve, I don't think he's going to need. I don't think they're going to need it.
He's never done anything wrong in his life, right?
Who, Peter?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got information.
I think it's totally unfair, though, of the Democrats to blame Joe Biden for all of this. First of all, y'all used him and then when y'all didn't need to use him anymore, y'all got
Yeah,
rid
the
of
machine
him.
cooed him.
Also, the whole plan of Joe Biden was for him to only serve one term. Right. That's what he said during the. But Kamala was so bad. She was so bad, so he could not pass the torch. And as we've seen since this election, why it was so bad.
Plus, there was pressure on him because they said he's the only
there you
one
go.
who
That
was
was
able
the
to beat
statement.
Donald Trump before.
Yeah. Hey, but I will say this. I think there's that school of thought, yes. But I also think that he was drunk with success in the midterms. And he thought, the heck with this. We kept the Senate, and it took them 3 extra weeks to flip the House, which was supposed to be around. So there's no red wave. They like me. They really like me. Yeah. I'm staying. Just like Leo DiCaprio.
And other Democrats supported him, too, and to the debate performance.
Yeah, right. But ultimately, I think...
That's true, Brian.
I think he probably thought...
What movie?
You remember that movie?
I remember Titanic with him.
What was the movie? Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh, yeah.
When he's supposed to resign?
Yeah. And he
when he's supposed to resign, he said,
I'm staying.
Wait a second. Can we roll that clip?
Yeah, right. We'll let him grab it.
What did y'all think of the concession speech yesterday?
It wasn't a concession speech. Essentially, she said, I'm not done fighting. But America took a vote on her fight and said, no, thank you. What's interesting about, as we talk a little bit about the blame game, there are a number of stories this morning that the people in Biden world, the people who told Joe Biden that he should stay in it and encouraged him to run a second term, even though he had not achieved the stratospheric legacy of FDR, which they told him he would do, is the people around Joe Biden are blaming Nancy Pelosi. And they say he could have won the white working class voters, Harris ceded to Donald Trump. And to Joe Biden, having essentially Nancy squeeze him out was like when Barack Obama in 2016 said, Joe, sit down. I'm picking, what's her name?
They should have...
Hillary Rodham Clinton instead to run as my successor.
They should have looked back and remembered that she was the first one that had to drop out of the race when she ran before. America did not want her.
But it's still not getting her attention. Essentially, the concession speech was the start of the resistance movement.
Right.
I mean, before he's even been sworn in, she's made it very clear, even though the country rejected whatever agenda that the staff wrote, because we never heard from her about policy. There was not an economic policy. There was not a border policy. There was all these flip-flops that the staff communicated, not her. She still says that we're going to resist.
Several things when you watch the concession speech. First of all, she waited until 4 o'clock in the afternoon to do it, which I understand if she wants to wait till the next morning, fine. But to wait until later the next day in the afternoon, I just didn't think that was the right move. And then when you do hear it, she talks about, I'm not giving up the fight, A, and B, she said, this time it will be an easy transition of power or something like that, like throwing it in Trump's face from before.
I expected it. I did expect that. But what I thought was I had a great conversation with the former president.
I wish him all the best.
That would be good. That would be classic. Do you think there might be a cease and desist, at least in the short term?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a little disrespectful not to do a concession, but at the same time, I think Kamala was in denial, and she had some excuse about wanting to make sure the votes were being counted and all this other stuff, and didn't really concede right away, and I don't know, some bullshit telling everybody to go home, and it's just, it was crap and disrespectful to the former president, now going to be president once again. Let's jump over to this one. This one I thought was pretty fascinating as well, continuance of the blame game. All right, let's check this one out right here.
Somebody grab a mop. Tears are flooding the swamp.
He's trash too, this guy.
Something to
Carville,
make
where
me
the hell
feel
is
good
he?
again. But right now, today, it's
trash.
hard. I'll be honest with you. And the hardest thing is that I look across this country and tens of millions of people fell for this, and it's depressing. I'll snap out of it, but I'm in a very, very dark time right now.
It's not just Carville. The men of the party, Doug and Timmy, were a little choked up yesterday when Kamala conceded. And Nancy Pelosi, after getting scolded by Donna Brazile, left the party pouting.
And corrupt.
Little remorse over the Kunets. You lost an election and a friend. But that friend is the only Democrat smiling. His name's Joe Biden. Look at the grin. He's the happiest he's looked in years. Is that the guy whose VP just lost to Hitler? Or is that the guy who's saying, I told you so?
I know it's a difficult time,
You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans.
Biden's reminding Democrats what they could have had. It's like when your girlfriend breaks up with you for another guy and then the other guy dumps her. See, babe, you didn't know how good you had it. Remember, Biden knew she couldn't win. When Democrats were trying to wax him, he was handing them polls like, guys, she's going to get crushed, look. But they didn't listen. So on the way out the door, he endorsed her. So they had to fall in line. She was a woman of color. What were the Democrats supposed to do? He endorsed a hand grenade, pulled the pin, watch it blow up in November. Biden still thinks he could have won.
Democrats would have clearly lost. Didn't matter if it was Biden, Kamala. It was just...
Does President Biden believe he could have won?
It's just the progressive agenda is what was the fail and the big loss that came in, because people are over it, like I've been saying all along.
President Biden believes that he made the right decision when he decided to step aside and immediately endorsed the vice president.
Binder knows what Biden did here. Oh, you don't want me? You can have her. Don't say I didn't warn you. Axios says Democrats have started clawing each other's eyes out. One Democrat's fuming that no one stopped Biden sooner, telling NBC, how the hell did we not deal with this problem? He's 80 years old. He was supposed to be a one-termer. The man could barely speak and actually be coherent. It was too late, and we knew we had a Biden problem this time last year. The party knew it, and people truly were not honest.
That's the Democrats' fault.
Bloomberg says it probably wasn't great to cover up President Joe Biden's infirmities until they became undeniable on live TV.
Trash.
Democrats are also raging at Biden's arrogance, leaking all over the place. He shouldn't have run. This is no time to pull punches or be concerned about anybody's feelings. He and his staff have done an enormous amount of damage to this country, one Democrat said. And he's a good man who can be proud of his accomplishments, but his legacy is in tatters.
If he had dropped out earlier, there would have been a messy primary. I think
they should have just straight up had a primary.
There are folks who say that she didn't have enough time to run, but there are others who say this was actually the best scenario for her.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people probably thought she would have lost a primary.
Well, exactly. But like, even if it had been 2 months earlier, like more time would not necessarily have benefited Kamala Harris.
She wouldn't have won the primary.
This is, look, Joe Biden's legacy is going to be defined by the fact that Donald Trump won.
The New York Times says Biden's legacy will forever be defined as a one-term president who set his party on a path to failure. Ouch. Guess we're going to have to start carving his name into Mount Rushmore. We hear Obama's already calling off construction at the Biden Presidential Library. They think this is all on Joe, not them.
Forget about Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and the others. They need to face the reality of that. And perhaps the real point was maybe Joe Biden should have decided very early that one term was enough and
no,
give
the
party a chance
machine
to have a primary
should have backed
election,
off.
and maybe the outcome could have been different.
It's not just Obama. It's Kamala, too. People close to Harris think Joe Biden's the singular reason Kamala Harris
the administration is the reason why I
lost. Biden
lost.
loyalists were irate after hearing that, clapping back, saying they'd love to have whatever they're drinking. Biden world pointing their fingers at Kamala and Barack. There's no singular reason why we lost, but a big reason is because the Obama advisors publicly encouraged Democratic infighting to push Joe Biden out. Didn't even want Kamala Harris as the nominee, and then signed up as the saviors of the campaign, only to run outdated Obama-era playbooks for a candidate that wasn't Obama. And some Democrats actually agree. They're blaming the loss squarely on Obama's people, saying they're stuck in 2009. One Democrat says the team that's there,
exactly,
time for them to retire. We need a whole different strategy.
Obama should have stayed
the day of
out.
Obama and his geniuses are over. They've been left behind. They're out of touch with the American people. The Democratic Party is out of touch. Obama's campaign manager, David Plouffe, who took the reins of the Harris campaign, has already gone into hiding. He deleted his Twitter account today. And Democrats, even have their knives out for George Clooney.
Good.
Who pulled the trigger in the New York Times. One saying, "Someone bring me George Clooney. We need to have a talk." People are blaming Biden. Other people are blaming Barack. Some people are blaming Harris. This is the top Democrat in Philly saying the campaign was just sloppy.
Just the Democrats are just trash.
Nothing. Zero. They had no respect. They had no coordination. They didn't talk. I never even had a conversation with the lady. First time ever. They didn't even do the right thing as far as giving us the resources that we need, and they want to blame us. And now I understand somebody over at Cape was blaming Joe Biden. Can you imagine blaming Joe Biden for her loss? She lost. He didn't lose.
The Harris team's firing back. If there's any immediate takeaway from Philadelphia's turnout this cycle, it's that Chairman Brady's decades-long practice of fleecing campaigns for money to make up for his own lack of fundraising ability.
All this infighting is just funny as hell.
It's a worthless endeavor that no future campaign should ever be forced to entertain again. Kamala is accusing the Philly Democratic Party boss of stealing her money. And this is just breaking. Even though she raised $1 billion,
I mentioned that.
She ended the campaign
earlier.
$20 million in debt. Maybe they did fleece her, but insiders say Kamala's campaign chief spent the cash on concerts with celebrities. Beyonce's appearance
it wasn't
has to
free.
be huge. Think about it. It's not just the campaigns fighting with each other. The left is on the warpath against the far left. Bernie Sanders is saying it should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class has abandoned them.
That too.
Not so fast, Bernie.
I'm concerned that the far left is pressuring the party to take policy positions that are deeply unpopular among most Americans. If you're speaking to working class people of color, then you would realize that there was never a mass constituency for a movement like defund the police. And so we should be taking positions that are in line with the majority of Americans.
And they're all screaming at each other.
The next time that some son of a on MSNBC or in the Democratic Party tells you, oh no, be a good boy and girl, be civil, and vote for Democratic leaders, they know what they're doing. Those are the same goddamn liars that told you that Joe Biden was totally fine.
Look at that. Cenk Uger's
If you're
pissed.
on the left, you're a Democratic voter. Wakey, wakey. I need to wake you up out of the hypnosis that you're in. They're lying to you. Why do you think they keep losing? You think they keep telling you how smart they are and how they're going to deliver you victories. And all they ever do is deliver loss after loss after loss. So Democratic voters, snap out of it. These guys are obvious liars. Fire them all.
Yeah, get rid of them all.
Fire them all.
Yeah, the
machine is a wreck.
garbage.
Democrats can only operate as a mob. They can't function fighting like this. Bottom line is this. It didn't matter when Biden got out.
Yeah.
The damage was done. He and Harris destroyed the dollar and the border and went crazy with DEI.
Harris is DEI.
The country's had it with Biden, Obama, Kamala, the Clintons, Nancy, and Chuck. So what's next for the Democrats? If they're really going to turn the page, who's going to step up and take the throne? One Democrat says, to be determined. I couldn't point to anyone. It's a vacuum. Bring back James Carville. They wanna put
Trash.
this
All right, I'm moving
guy
on.
in charge.
I'm done. Yeah, he's trash. He sucks. All right, all the infighting is just comical to me, and finger pointing. It's great. You know, it's great to see how bad Democrats really are, and they're not really for you. But yeah, I just wanted to share this all with you guys. Follow up to yesterday. Hey, more to come. We'll see what happens tomorrow. All right, so comment down below. Share with me with your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you next one.